Hello, everybody.
Oh,
Today's the first.
We're just going in?
Yeah. Today is the first day that the Gulf of America exists.
Oh, okay. That's what we're opening with. I love how probably every cold open is just going to carbon date exactly when we were recording.
We're not a daily topic podcast.
Oh, yeah. We're not the Daily Show.
We're not the Daily Show.
As much as I desperately want to be a part of the Daily Show. I would drop this in a heartbeat if it meant I got like a 10-minute segment on the Daily Show that I could then use to spread my own agenda onto.
It'd be called the Gulf of Tom. Is that what you'd say on your segment?
No, mine would be, I would kind of activate the sleeper cell that I've been like, kind of working for decades and decades to, I would have to say lean gravy potatoes. Hopefully, if I say that now, that's not going to like prematurely.
Wait, are you
activate.
the sleeper cell or?
No, it's
it'll
all probably not. I'd have to talk with my buddy
what
about
are the words? Sleepy potato.
You don't need to know.
Gravy potato. Sleepy
anyway,
gravy potato, people.
Suckers.
Now, friends, these books are free.
Suckers.
Paid for by real Americans who want others to know the truth.
Suckers.
But I'm an American. Some of the things I see in this country of ours make my blood boil.
Suckers.
What's going to become of us real Americans?
Suckers.
Real Americans.
Suckers.
Real Americans.
Suckers.
Real Americans.
Suckers.
Remember that when you hear this kind of talk, somebody is going to get something out of it, and it isn't going to be you. So let's not be
Suckers.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to, I have no idea what episode this is. 12? 13?
I don't know.
I have no clue.
I'm an audio guy, so I can't really count that high. Usually I'm on the mic going, mic check, 1, 2, 3. Mic check, 1, 2, 1, 2.
Yeah, Tom only knows how to count to 3. It's actually a nightmare driving with him or buying anything with him because he has to use a calculator. And it's really dangerous when we're driving on the road.
Oh my God, yeah.
And he's like calculating the highways. It doesn't make any sense either. It's very.
I know, getting on route. Well, I don't know that number. It looks like a yeah. I'd have to count from 1 to get up there. It's the whole thing. But anyways, I'm an idiot, and we are going to talk about dun 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 Project 2025.
Okay, I didn't know if you were leaning into me to say that.
No.
The last time we talked about the Heritage Foundation and how evil and messed up their ideas are and how fucking backwards and twisted and mental all their shit is. You know what I mean?
And
think
zany.
tank.
No, zany is the wrong word.
Think tank, right? They're a think
They're
tank.
a think tank. Yeah. I mean, they're, like we talked about last episode, they're backed by a bunch of billionaires and, the people, like the Koch brothers and the Koch father, I guess. Well, he's dead, but they all have
the
they
Holy
have a
Ghost
lasting,
of the Koch father.
No, literally, the Father, the Son, and the demonic spirit,
the demonic entity.
Yeah, and their connections with the John Birch Society, people like Adolf Coors and the Coors Brewing Company, kind of backing them.
Very unfortunate first name. You know what I mean?
Oh,
I could tell why it kind of fell off, like as far as like usage is concerned. But yeah, big evil think tank.
ExxonMobil.
They love the conservatism, the family, the Christianity, the American exceptionalism.
They're anti-LGBTQ plus.
And believe it or not, a lot of their
anti-Marxist, anti-critical race theory.
Right.
They're the Tea Party movement. Those are the Christian nationalists, the paleoconservatives, the neoconservatives, anti-union, all the good things we love here at the pod.
Yeah, no, I definitely like those things and definitely don't stand completely at odds with. Yeah, and that is to say that, of course, weirdly, their entire agenda aligns really nicely with just corporate America and just big business. And weirdly, it's really
it's free market economics.
Strange,
they try and they
don't like the boot of the government, but they love that boot of the corporation. You know what I mean? They love that big, nice, rich boot, as long as it's a nice, rich boot. I guess what we ought to be talking about in this particular episode is what is in Project 2025. It's
and more specifically, we're going to talk about the Conservative Promise, which is its own separate document, but it kind of outlines the whole movement, I guess, and a lot of the stuff that's in Project 2025, and it's included at the beginning of Project 2025
as like a preamble or introduction or something like that.
Yeah, and
Gotcha.
It's the only thing I had time to read, but I'm not going to tell you that. I'm not going to tell you that for free.
Yeah, this will be cut.
Yeah,
all of that will be cut.
No, it won't, because I love the people and they deserve the truth. I'm a fraud. I'm a hack. I'm a hack, and I'm a fraud.
So yeah, what's the conservative promise? What are the conservatives promising for a bright, beautiful, big, and beautiful future America?
Well, what are they promising? They are basically promising essentially a kind of rerun of Reagan in a way.
Awesome.
Like we talked about last episode, they have a lot of ties in with Reagan and other Reaganites. In 1981, they published their Mandate for Leadership. Reagan, implemented about 60% of the things that they had put in there. And then, of course, you can't forget about Mandate for Leadership 3. I don't know what happened to 2. And I'm a hack and a fraud. And I did not do that research. I didn't think about it, but until right now.
They got sequels. They got a triple, like another sequel. They're on number 3. It's like big Hollywood movies,
Yeah, it's great.
Also, side note, completely unrelated, but Reaganite sounds like such a strange. It sounds like a planet. You know what I mean? Like Krypton and Kryptonite.
Oh yeah,
Raygon and Reaganite.
Reagatrons.
No, I like the other one that you said.
Raygarians. We're going Raygarians, people. Let's move it along.
Yeah.
So they are basically trying to bring back a Reagan-like presidency in a way. Very free market, anti-labor, anti-communist, pro-imperialist.
Where it's like it never even left, Where did it even go?
You could certainly make that argument.
Yeah, where did it go?
I forgot to mention our guest, Jerry Seinfeld, today.
What's the deal with the U.S. presidential system?
I do want to read a little thing here about, just because I meant to address this a little further last episode, just about anti-abortionism and the civil rights movement. If you'll indulge me for just a second.
If I have a prediction, they're probably not too keen on either of those.
No.
If I had to guess.
And I'm quoting from the National Urban League. On their website, they say, right-wing activists, particularly Falwell and Heritage Foundation co-founder Paul Weyrich, saw an opportunity to harness the surging racial anxiety among conservative Christians into political action. And then religious historian Randall Ballmer saying, but Falwell and Weyrich having tapped into the ire of evangelical leaders, were also savvy enough to recognize that organizing grassroots evangelicals to defend racial discrimination would be challenging. Because remember, this is civil rights era, and Jerry Falwell was very against the civil rights acts. And would not let black people into his church for a few years after. And so it would be challenging to get a bunch of evangelicals to defend racial discrimination. Back to the article, it had worked to rally the leaders, but they needed a different issue if they wanted to mobilize evangelical voters on a large scale. That issue would be abortion. The movement to criminalize abortion has never extricated itself from its racist origins. Whites who score high on measures of racial resentment and racial grievance are far more likely to support strict limits on abortion than whites who score low on these measures. And that's from political scientist Alan Abramowitz.
Apologies to Alan if you pronounced your name wrong.
Yes, sorry, yeah. And then he goes on saying, white supremacist groups are among the movement's most passionate supporters. At this year's March for Life rally in January, members of the white nationalist Patriot Front group distributed cards reading, America belongs to its fathers, and it is owed to its sons. The restoration of American sovereignty must follow the restoration of the American family. So
they seem pretty keen on the family, but the thing is that I mean, it's always, I feel like it's kind of the knee-jerk reaction from the left whenever they talk about their obsession with the family, where it's like, the baby will be born, and then the state will essentially just be like, well, good luck, we did everything we could. I mean, we prevented literally every single avenue that you could have taken before this moment to, not have the child and not live in destitute and desperation. But, we're just we really care about life. We're always all about life. But as soon as that life actually enters the world, well, good luck.
The quality of that life doesn't seem to matter much.
No, not at all, unfortunately.
Yeah. So I wanted to get that out of the way because a lot of this is rooted in this kind of family, traditional family idea.
And I'm sure, it certainly needs no overstating that this is definitely like a, I think like very prominent, especially with the swell of feminist movements throughout, the last half century. Just kind of like the increased autonomy of women within society, and men in particular, conservative men, kind of fearing that they're going to, they seem pretty obsessed with the dating pool, or specifically the gene pool. That's what you hear a lot of fascists say in referring to the dating pool, and I think that in and of itself is like what scares a lot of women away from them, because it's like, you're just kind of saying it right out the gate that you don't see the woman as a person, but as a brood mother or something like that. You know what I mean? Like,
it's very dehumanizing.
It's very objectifying. I mean, and but they don't really. I feel like that never really clicks because they never really register that like the woman has like a right to speak up or say
to exist
anything. Like they toe the line. I mean, I don't know, like I think of societies in particular where America fought tooth and nail against like fundamentalists, like Islamic society, like Taliban, for example, but and then our fundamentalists around here are like, but it'd be cool if it was just all Christian, but it was all pretty much the same thing, just like no rights for women, and they don't go to school, and they just have my kid, and they don't complain about me or anything, and they're just kind of like free labor, free domestic labor, I think is essentially what they're after to a large extent.
Essentially domestic slavery, and I use the word slavery lightly because we have a connotation here in America of chattel slavery. It is by no means comparing the two or, conflating one to the other, because chattel slavery was extremely gross. But there is an aspect of this idea of like the family and women staying at home, not having autonomy and stuff that, it is some form of taking away their sovereignty as a person.
I mean, in a way, it kind of is. It is domestic servitude. I think servitude.
Yeah, I think that's a better word. Yeah,
servitude, because there is no because conservatives in particular, especially this very odd crowd, I'm sure, is very focused on the man's ability to be like the breadwinner. Like, there's always like, especially within like kind of the trad circles, like online especially, the obsession with the breadwinner husband and the wife who makes Oreos from scratch on TikTok all day or whatever the fuck. Sorry, that's in reference to a specific person. Do you know who I'm talking about when I
No,
say?
but
I'll have to find
I
her.
see a lot of things of like wheat girls or who
good
are in like
Lord.
a field of wheat, and they're these like blonde, like,
Oh Lord.
yeah, it's
Oh good Lord.
Yeah.
Tom, I populate mostly on TikTok, and Tom's more of an Instagram Reels kind of guy.
I am. A lot of that stuff I've seen on X though.
Oh, X.
Yeah.
No, that would definitely be.
Or we'll
The
call
everything
it Twitter.
website.
We'll call it Twitter.
No, it
Fuck
is
'em.
X, the everything site.
Fuck them.
You forget.
Yeah.
But
But so yeah, I think it's good to just talk about this kind of stuff just heading into this document, because I see American conservatism largely coming out of the civil rights era. Like, this has been a 50, 60 year long war that the right wing conservatives have been fighting against women. So I think it's just very centered on what brings people into the movement through this religious dogma that kind of tricks people into one, like voting against their own interests and the things that I think conservative women should be able to get abortions. Like,
Right.
I'm sure some of them do, and may
and
not.
quite a lot do, especially daughters and wives and sisters of like Republican representatives and stuff. They seemingly get a pass as far as like kind of under the table abortion, which is like everyone should be entitled to that. But the fact that it's in a need to know basis where it's like, it's all about who you know and like what strings can the powerful people that can they pull to like make it happen. I mean, that's the thing, is like criminalizing abortion is not going to make people have fewer abortions. It's just going to make it less safe and less
Right. And we'll get into that a bit more as we talk about this document. Let's talk about the conservative promise.
Yes. What are they promising?
What
cheery things do they promise for a big, bright, and beautiful America?
So, well, I'll start with their main goal.
Okay.
Our goal is to assemble an army. I feel
don't-
like that's
I
already
don't-
strong
I don't
language, like just being
know.
like an army
I don't like that.
of aligned, vetted, trained, and prepared conservatives to go to work on day one to deconstruct the administrative state.
By empowering it more.
Right.
By giving more unbridled fewer checks and balances, I should say, to the President of the United States.
To the president,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But maybe just like, I think maybe that's code word for deep state, which is really more just code word for people I don't like within the federal government.
Right. People that are stopping me from being a bigot and from exploiting people.
And saying hateful things on social media.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's
off to a really bad start.
right.
I'd say.
That's
Okay.
what they put forth as their main goal.
Okay.
And so they name 4 fronts that decide America's future. So number 1, to restore the family as the centerpiece of American life and protect our children.
Okay. Vague, but okay.
Very vague.
Very vague. Almost intentionally vague, but
It most certainly is intentionally vague. Number 2, dismantle the administrative state and return self-governance to the American people.
feels kind of like, like say one thing and do another. But we'll get it.
we'll get into that a little bit more.
Yeah.
And number 3, defend our nation's sovereignty, borders, and bounty against global threats.
Yeah, it's just imperialism, so we can.
Yeah, I mean
okay.
that's just classic.
Continuing the empire, the whole kit and caboodle.
There's always someone, trying to come across your borders and attack you.
Right.
Type
Yeah.
shit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Number 4, secure our God-given individual rights to live freely. What our Constitution calls the blessings of liberty.
Just
right, Tom?
Just mealy mouth.
Yeah.
Nothing. Just mealy mouth nothing. Okay.
Yeah, living free.
Okay. So we have like 3 actionable points and then one that's just kind of like, the heartfelt point, the point to make your heart swell as a real American,
Right.
I love liberty.
Yeah.
Whatever the fuck that means. I couldn't tell you what it means, but I love it. I know that.
It's definitely, to me, a very utopian kind of.
Well, it's meaningless.
Well, yeah,
it is a meaningless word. It has no because like you tell any homeless man or anyone in a destitute position, just be like, God, aren't you just glad you live in the freest country with the most liberty? Like, what liberty does someone like that have? You know what I mean?
Well, these people would argue that those people are homeless because they're free and they're lazy.
Okay. So kind of going back to that social Darwinism.
Even though those are a lot of veterans who we should
are
be.
They on a Westboro Baptist Church stint where it's like God hates the military and shit like that? I will say the one dub if they have any, the one dub that Westboro Baptist Church has is that they hate the military,
That's the one dub.
It's kind of like you have to, it's like that Drill tweet where it's like, actually, no. What Drill said was, under no circumstance do you have to hand it to ISIS. Anyway, we can move on.
Do you have to? So let's talk about number 1: restoring the family as a centerpiece of American life and protect our children.
I'll spoil alert. I have a feeling that just means no more autonomy for women. That's just kind of, and also no like. Trans people and gay people like are just kind of, they get put into like a big cube that they crush or something.
Yes,
probably a combination.
Yeah,
of the two.
And also this weird. Oh
no.
Yeah, let me just read the quote.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So today, the American family is in crisis. 40% of all children are born to unmarried mothers, including more than 70% of black children.
Mm-hmm.
There is no government program that can replace the hole in a child's soul cut out by the absence of a father. Fatherlessness is one of the principal sources of American poverty, crime, mental illness, teen suicide, substance abuse, rejection of the church, and high school dropouts. So many of the problems government programs are designed to solve but can't are ultimately problems created by the crisis of marriage in the family. And not capitalism.
Yeah, I was gonna say they're kind of looking at the symptom, thinking it's the cause. But okay, all right,
right, exactly, yeah. And the world has never seen a thriving, healthy, free, and prosperous society where most children grow up without their married parents. If current trends continued, we are heading towards social implosion. Well, that's not true. Okay. All right. All right. Well, it's just so baffling reading this shit because the dichotomies and just the hypocrisies and just the stupid shit is ridiculous. I mean, first of all, they're talking about, 70% of black children don't have a father, which I haven't looked at those numbers, but that seems juiced. It seems goosed.
They probably juice some of these numbers just for the wow factor,
Right.
I think the wow factor is pretty important with these think tanks. You really want to get the numbers to pop.
That's the first thing you got to do. But I think like fatherlessness is something I hear Republicans and conservatives talk about a lot, where it's like, these black families just don't have a father and blah, blah, blah. But it's like, that's because of you.
Right.
I mean, it's also because of the Democrats later, like, the crime bill,
right? Yeah.
That Bill Clinton passed and stuff. But Reagan was a huge component in the war on drugs,
right.
And that put a lot of black men in jail for things that were nonviolent and completely bullshit.
Right.
So the fact that they're flipping this on us after telling us that they were like behind a lot of Reagan shit,
right?
It's just a silly like. Come on.
And I think one important aspect, especially when looking at the war on drugs within the Reagan period, is that a lot of these people, like especially if they are caught one time with like a nonviolent offense or something like that, it instantly becomes a lot harder to get an actual job, making crime, like, you know, dealing drugs or something like that, really the only viable way to make money and make a lot of it fast in a way that supports the family. You know what I mean? And so I think, again, it's looking at the symptom and thinking that's the disease. And it's like, no, that's a symptom.
And to add on to that, once they go into prison, they can be used for labor for very cheap or free. And they also, in a lot of states, lose their voting rights.
I think every or no, actually no.
There
that
are
has
some
changed
exceptions.
Recently,
It has changed a bit, but
all right. But there's a class element, and there has been a class element to it for a great deal. I mean, for a long time, I think Obama repealed it, but for a long time there was the 1-to-100 law. Have you heard of that one? It was essentially saying that like carrying I believe it was in grams, 1 gram of crack cocaine carries the same legal penalty of carrying 100 grams of powder cocaine, which one is infinitely more expensive than the other, which indicates more of a bias in favor of the richer person, because who's going to have 100 fucking grams of cocaine on them except a very, very wealthy, fabulously wealthy person.
And crack was more of a
it's cheap. It's cheap. It's
and
very comparatively cheap, you know, and that's why it the CIA introduced it into black neighborhoods throughout the 80s. I mean, but we'll probably get into that.
Zoink Scoob.
More.
Zoink
There's
Scoob.
a lot of lot of literature on that particular topic. Believe it or not, the war on drugs and DARE didn't work. It's weird.
I know. Just say no. Just say no.
Right. I have been saying no, and it's had mixed results.
Mixed results, yeah.
So
the other part of this I want to talk about, the world has never seen a thriving, healthy, free, and prosperous society where most children grow up without their married parents. Marriage has not always existed.
Well, and also I would say that what they're thinking of is a completely and totally joyless marriage. Like, there have probably been countless civilizations. And again, I kind of have to wonder what they mean by a thriving civilization. Like, what does that exactly entail?
Right.
There's not really a finish line there. It's kind of very broad and open-ended.
Right.
Like, what does that qualify as? But also, I mean, if we're looking prior to the 20th century and the broader emancipation of women, they were fucking miserable, and most of the time married because they had to. It was not a matter of choice, but a matter of tying up the estate, or forced marriage, especially within the United States. In fact, child marriage is still it's legal and prominent, especially within the Deep South, but really everywhere.
I believe
under the table. I'm kind of curious as to what the finish line that they qualify as like a prosperous society is, because whatever.
And for who?
Yeah, and for who? Because if they're like, I want to know what their idealized prosperous society is, and I want to ask a woman from that society, do you want to murder your husband tonight? And would you like be totally fine with that if you could? And I would wager a guess at least more than half would say, yeah, I'd do it.
There's certainly women who have done that.
Right, yeah.
But more what I was getting at, I mean, there have been matriarchal societies in the past before colonization.
Right.
Here in the Americas. I haven't done a ton of research about African tribes and stuff, but I believe a lot of those were matriarchal, or some of them.
Matriarchy was very prominent, especially in the areas like in sub-Saharan Africa, especially because Islam is also a very patriarchal society. So Islam really took off within northern Africa and like the Sahel and Swahili coast and things of that nature. But in those pre-Abrahamic religions, I guess you could say. Matriarchy was very much like a prominent, and that, as well as native tribes within the Americas. Yeah, matriarchy was a prominent way of organizing said societies. It very much, and that's why I'm curious as to what their ideal society is like, and it probably is somewhere in Europe in a very specific time.
Yeah,
period.
It's very Western and Western centric, Eurocentric. Like Engels and Marx. They have that book.
The Origin of the Family.
Origin of the Family.
Property in the Origin of the Family. Property. You're gonna have to look up this book title, bro.
No,
been a minute.
No, it's all good. What he talks about in there.
He's dead. He can't complain.
He can't complain, and neither can you because we can't hear you.
We both read it. It was a long time ago.
Yeah, but the family, a matriarchal family like that, in a lot of the book talks a lot about indigenous American cultures. The mother would have kids with whoever, basically, and no one saw the father as a father necessarily. It was a communal, everyone who lived in that society, when a mother had a kid, they all took care of the kid. It was a communal society.
You ever hear the phrase, takes a village to raise a kid?
I have. And I think that's where it comes from. There's someone revving their engine in the background.
I bet he feels like a fucking total badass right now.
Dude, I believe that.
I don't. I want to throw trash at him.
Me too. But so this has not always been, I think a lot of people today, even, your average Democrat, certainly Republicans, they have a very short understanding of the wide breadth of humanity. And I think a large part of that is because colonialism did everything it could to erase a lot of other parts of humanity and other cultures and other ways of understanding how families work.
Right. I think in large part credited to it viewing anything that was a non-European, non-Christian society as being barbarism, like dehumanizing them, seeing the people within those societies as less than human.
Right.
And so unless they adopted their ways and, adopted Jesus Christ, as their Lord and Savior and the whole, yada, yada.
Like assimilated into
right.
because there is that, it's like either, people would be, murdered or moved or, pushed out of their homes essentially, or, assimilated in, and neither is good. Both are like heavily racist. Like our idea of assimilation.
I mean, and it's a total destruction of culture. I mean, I think probably the most classic example within the United States of that would be the destruction of like the Native American society, like particularly cramming them into reservations, and then the concerted effort in the latter half of the 19th century, like really post-Civil War, from, I forget what his ranking was, like a captain or a general or something. I remember, I forget his first name, but it was Pratt, like General Pratt or Captain Pratt or something like that. Something name, Pratt. His very famous phrase.
There's always a William. I don't know.
Maybe something like that. Yeah, Billy Pratt. You never know.
Billy Pratt.
Yeah. The phrase "kill the Indian, save the man." It was a very, very prominent, like calling cry to assimilate these people. And I mean, these Native Americans who had to live through that sort of very rough and rigid assimilation, they're still around. They're just old. They're old now, but you can still talk to them and ask them, "Hey, what did you think of a boarding school?" And I guarantee you, not a single one is going to have a very positive thing to tell you about it.
I know people who had like literally hid in barrels. Like their parents hid them in a barrel so that they wouldn't have to go to a boarding school.
Right.
And these
because they come back and they don't know their own language. So their parents are trying to talk to them. And I remember when I was in college, we had a medicine man come in and tell us from I think he was Navajo if I remember correctly. He was telling us about how when he returned home, his mom was just distraught because he could no longer really talk with her or really understand, like have a conversation anymore because that's the thing, they beat it out of you. Like it's never a willing or forceful thing. They either kill you or they beat it out of you.
Well, that's
so
forceful. Yeah.
And so
when
in these boarding schools specifically, like what would happen a lot of the time, they'd be religious schools. So I think there was news stories coming out of like Canada, for example, where they were like uncovering mass graves around like religious schools because these nuns, they would beat the kids into submission, essentially.
Yeah, I believe a lot of those boarding schools would force name changes to more Eurocentric names as well.
Very European names,
So, and that breaks my heart hearing that, they couldn't talk to their own mother. And
it's a very...
and they seem to... they pretend to care about the family, but they are splitting them up constantly.
They do not. I mean, if anyone tells you that they care about the family, I mean, these are the same people that are so fervently in favor of deportations and particularly ripping families apart so that they can, have their weird, fucked up, twisted fantasy of deporting all the quote unquote illegals. You know what I mean?
Right.
Just to show you how much they give a fuck about the family.
They do not.
Yeah.
So they go on saying, quote, "The next conservative president must make the institutions of American civil society hard targets for woke culture warriors. This starts with deleting and I'm just thinking about this. Sorry, I'm cutting myself off because earlier we had read a quote saying that they were building an army, right? And within the right wing of the American conservative / just right wing in general, there's been a lot of paramilitary training and all this stuff. But to me, it seems like they are literally calling people they don't like, warriors. That warriors are war is in the name, right? They are making it explicitly like, no, the people we don't like are the ones who are aggressive. They are the warriors. We are building an army to defend our cultural ideas. I
mean, they always say, it's the same thing how America says that it's defending its interests or it's defending this or defending that. Because usually when you frame it as, I'm just defending myself, it sounds a lot easier than I wanted to kill all of them. I wanted to wipe them out,
Well, that's always the thing. It's like, Hitler was talking about how they have to defend themselves from the Jews, or Andrew Jackson talking about how, just look up the mound building conspiracy where, it basically they thought that this ancient Aryan race had been in America and indigenous people wiped them out first, and now we're basically taking it back. He said this during a presidential address or, something like that. Like there's literally a transcript of him talking about this. It's disgusting, but it's a way to justify and be like, no, we're the victims here,
Right. This is our land. No, yeah, it's giving them just cause for whatever heinous shit they're about to do. In the case of Andrew Jackson, kicking everyone east of the Mississippi out west in an incredibly brutal death march. In the case of Hitler, the Holocaust, and then in this case, almost certainly some kind of culling of society of what people deem as being woke. And the thing is that kind of label, they just kind of apply it to anything they don't agree with. Like it's not even really, like, I feel like it's totally lost its meaning. That's the thing. Like a lot of the words that they tout are the things that they are defending, like liberty and freedom and, all that. Like it's meaningless. It has no meaning.
Well, I'll tell you some other thing. When I read this quote, I'm going to say some other things that they are erasing the meaning of completely. Okay. And they intentionally are looking to do this.
Okay. Yeah,
this starts with deleting the terms sexual orientation and gender identity.
Just don't say
diversity. Diversity.
Yeah.
Like that's bad. Equity.
How am I supposed to do my finances now?
Right. I got no equity.
Yeah. What?
And inclusion. And of course they're like DEI, because that's the big talking point now is being against inclusion, equity, and diversity.
I want my white ethno state. Give it to me.
I want my misogynist white ethno state. What is wrong with that?
Yeah, come on.
Come on.
Come on.
Gender equity, or gender equality, gender awareness, like just being aware of like it's like they're taking being colorblind to gender. Oh, we don't see gender.
Right. I don't really, I mean,
but
that feels kind of counterintuitive
yeah, like,
compared to what they're trying to do, if that's kind of the, but anyway.
Yeah, no, it's just a silly, like, really? You're trying to erase these terms, you're deleting these terms.
No, nothing screams freedom to me like erasing terms from vocabulary. That doesn't really ring any kind of alarm bells.
Right.
Of any kind.
Right. So, gender awareness, gender sensitive, abortion, just as a word, reproductive health, which if you just have a kid at all, that is reproductive health. Like if any of these motherfuckers have a child with their wives who probably hate them,
right? I'm sure it's mutual.
They should probably understand reproductive health,
ideally,
right? So reproductive rights, even if in their like weird country that they're trying to build here, wouldn't they want reproductive rights even for some people?
I mean, definitely only for men, I think is kind
just
of
being able to initiate it.
I guess what that might mean is a state mandated girlfriend. Like no matter how
Jordan Peterson
yeah, like no matter how gnarly or gangly or fucked up you are, like you will have a guaranteed girlfriend. And the girl will probably never be considered as to like what they think of the whole matter. No. It's just kind of like the draft, you know, it just kind of depends on what your birthday is for the given day, you know?
Right. Yeah. It just I'm just thinking of Jordan Peterson saying that there should be mandatory monogamy or whatever. It's
Bro,
just
he got talked into a polyamorous relationship one time. That dude's probably been broken ever since. No, but for real, like I think I mean it's kind of funny because it echoes kind of similar things that I've heard from Republicans where they're like, you know, I want to get rid of discussion of pronouns. Like they're not even really thinking about what they're saying. They're just kind of saying it because that's like the knee-jerk hot button reaction that they usually get from like, you know, Fox News.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like it's just, again, it's because it's reactionary. It's very immediate reaction, knee-jerk. You know what I mean?
And it plays directly into like kind of their middle class, like the descendants of white flight or the people who directly like left cities, you know, to go to suburbs.
I think
like
also in a sense, maybe their kids. I think a lot of, especially a lot of Republicans nowadays, like they're like, God, why ain't nobody visiting Gramps for Thanksgiving or nobody's visiting Peepaw for Christmas? What's going on? But like, yeah, no, because anytime that any family discussion comes out, they're always talking about how they hate trans women or how they want to ban trans women from like entering, you know, women's restrooms. And no, I mean, it's all very, again, knee jerk. It doesn't make any sense because this is just something that you can say to a crowd of like, you know, hooting morons and they'll start hooting if you say it. You know what I mean?
And a lot
playing
of
to their audience.
Yeah. Well, they're playing to the people who literally took themselves out of a more diverse place to put themselves in a bubble.
Right.
Like white flight is all about taking themselves out and it's about separation, right?
Right.
So a lot of these people don't know trans people because like we talked about, very few people are trans, you know, just statistically. Like it's not as big of an issue as people make it, right? But they don't know trans people. They don't know many black people. Oh well, I got my black friend. Well,
I have a black Facebook friend. You
right?
know, that count.
Like it's all about that separation. And when you separate yourself from these city centers,
you get out of touch.
You get out of touch. You don't know people. You don't get to interact with people. You don't get to see the humanity in people. You don't get to see, you know, the the starry eye, just the soul.
Right. And I think really a lot of these people's interactions with these minority groups and with these things that they're so irate about is through media, is through the news.
Right.
These usually, it's hilarious because these people are always like on about like, oh, it's fake news this, fake news that. And to their credit, the media, like big corporate media, does lie a lot, but I will laugh in your fucking face if you try and tell me that Fox is the one that gets the pass, that they're telling it like it is. Like, you are such a rube. It's unbelievable.
Well, it's like we have the same. It's like they're like, oh well, it's all,
my guy.
Yeah.
Us and versus them.
Like fake news is like, yeah, okay. As socialists, we can look at it and go, all of these news sites are backed by corporations, who are not going to allow things on their news networks that are anti-capitalist, that are in any way
that question their
socialist.
Authority in any way.
Right.
Right.
It's going to have a certain lens, right?
Right.
And Fox News absolutely lies in that.
Right.
And so when people are saying, the same thing who are conservatives, it's like, no, you're saying the same thing, but you're coming from a totally different.
Oh yeah, but that's the thing. That's what's insidious about it, is that there's always a very small grain, very granular, but there is a grain of truth in what is said. But it's how they take that and spin that. Like, it's the same thing where it's like, Donald Trump's for me, and it's like this guy who makes $30,000 a year, and it's like that dude. He wouldn't care if you lived or died, dude. He doesn't know you.
Yeah.
He doesn't care, dude. He cares about his fucking pockets and how big they are. You know what I'm saying? Like, he doesn't give a fuck. So, no, it is this knee-jerk reaction, this obsession. I think it's in large part due to the Rush Limbaughfication of America. Just like the old fucking rube, like sitting on his couch all day watching Fox News and just being completely like poison. I mean, and that's the thing, is that once you kind of hit that deep end, and then their kids, for example, who are not in that, it's an echo chamber.
Yeah.
And I think especially with the internet, especially like I'd say Twitter lately has turned into a serious echo chamber for a lot of people.
And we'll be talking about
the
Twitter
website.
And X, we'll talk a lot about the internet as this podcast goes on. Getting into those echo chambers, a lot of these people, they're kind of like the couch activist,
yeah,
like they're just, well, Obama, he wasn't born here. It's like, shut the fuck up. Yes, he was.
Yeah, it's the guys that are always like Barack Hussein Obama.
Right.
Yeah, come on, man, give me a break.
So they want to take inclusive language out of every federal rule, agency regulation, contract, grant, regulation, and piece of legislation that exists.
Mm-hmm.
So they are trying to take away any sort of,
protected
structural
status.
Protection. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that way, it's like, it literally is not illegal to be transphobic. It's not illegal to be racist. We can just keep all of this language out of it, and somehow that's going to make everybody more free, because all of those things that we put in before weren't because people were being racist and misogynistic.
I think a lot of it has to do, especially with the advent of cancel culture within the 21st century. I think a lot of these people had pretty prominent, careers in media or this or that, but they were, they were quote unquote anti-woke. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They were ribbling jokes, about racist shit, about transphobic shit. And then suddenly the pendulum kind of, shifted. And then everybody's like, that's not really funny. And it's like the guy who's bombing stand-up. And they're like, what? Come on. You guys don't like real comedy? Come on. And
well, that's always the thing, is like, those racist jokes are like little fish hooks where it's like, well, if you find it funny, then you're probably on the in group. who finds it funny and don't care.
Right.
But if you find it offensive, it's just a joke.
Right.
Right? You can just write it off. But so then they go talking about outlawing porn, right? And they say that the people who produce and distribute it should be imprisoned. Educators and public librarians who purvey it should be classified as registered sex offenders. And I want to point out that when they're talking about pornography, they're really talking about anything that's, talks about LGBTQ plus people. It is not, they're not talking about just straight up boobies. They're talking about, if there's a trans character in a book, they say it's pornography and these people should be imprisoned. It's disgusting.
Yeah, because I think there is a case, a very legitimate case for the discussion of banning pornography, just as like, an instance, because it is very patriarchal. It is very dehumanizing for women who, have to part. I mean,
but on the flip side, there are women who.
It's a double-edged sword.
It is a double-edged sword, and it's a very complicated topic we don't have time for now, but it is very
but they have a very narrow view of the way that they're going at it.
Yeah, it's detrimental to people's mental health a lot of times. It can dehumanize women, but
that's not what they're concerned about.
Yeah, they're not. Yeah, they
don't give a fuck about that.
They don't. But I just want to point out that, the risk of trans kids committing suicide drops drastically if they have a family support. And I think it's really important to think about that. If you're still with us at this point and you're conservative, whatever, but
almost certainly not.
You're not here, but you're not here.
In case you are.
But if you're talking to your conservative, family and stuff, like a lot of these kids, it's between killing themselves or finding some sort of confirmation of their identity, some sort of verification that, they are accepted, is very important. And we don't want people to kill themselves. We don't.
Yeah.
And there is a certain percentage of kids who have, tried suicide who are trans, who do get family support. And I blame that on the rest of society. Right. They still have to go to school. They still have to, deal with the media and all that stuff. But I think it's important to at least put that in your mind that a lot of these kids have a lot of mental health issues because they don't get support and because they are not accepted in their general lives.
And I think repression, I think that's the ultimate goal of this kind of conservative movement is either you do kill yourself, which, in a very sinister way, they'd probably be satisfied with that because they just, cut them out of the, again, quote unquote, gene pool.
Right.
Because it's all very dehumanizing. They certainly don't see these people as people.
Right.
But it's either that or just repress it, keep it under wraps, and hope that nobody ever knows or finds out, which unfortunately there are probably millions upon millions of Americans living that life right now. And they just go on to become like a Republican representative or something like that, just down the line.
Yeah.
If anyone has seen it, there's a really good movie called I Saw the TV Glow, which is about this similar topic, just kind of like the repression of an innate trans identity that you repress, and kind of just how that harms the ultimate psyche. It's got like kind of a freaky ending, to be honest with you, like kind of messed up.
All right.
Have you ever seen it?
That? No, I have not.
It's a good movie. It's got Fred Durst in it. He's the homophobic
it's just one
father.
Of those days.
Yeah, he's the homophobic father in it.
Oh, that makes sense. Actually, I can buy that.
Yeah, he kind of.
Sorry, Fred Durst. I don't. Never mind. So quickly, I'll touch on this little point that they bring up. They basically say that Roe v. Wade is a decision that for 5 decades made a mockery of our Constitution and facilitated the deaths of tens of millions of unborn children. This is, again, not how you count deaths.
Yeah, no, they're kind of playing it fast and easy with the concept of death.
It's like the Black Book of Communism. It like tries to reach 100 million deaths by communism, and not a lot of them, not a majority certainly, but a good amount of deaths they just attribute to like kids that would have been born. And it's like, that's not how you
kind of playing it fast and easy.
Yeah.
Again. No, we're really fudging the numbers here.
Yeah. And then they say conservatives should ardently pursue these pro-life and pro-family policies while recognizing the many women who find themselves in immensely difficult and often tragic situations and the heroism of every choice to become a mother. Alternative options to abortion, especially adoption, should receive federal and state support. In summary, the next president has a moral responsibility to blah, 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 restore a cultural life in America again.
Guarantee you Roe v. Wade was unfortunately repealed, and I guarantee you there is not a single thought in the Republicans' mind of increasing any kind of funding to the child welfare system, any orphan, literally no plan of that. It is fend for yourself.
Right. Because a lot of kids don't get adopted today.
Yeah, they're still there. Believe it or not, there are plenty of kids to adopt right now.
Right.
And ask any of them what they think of their life, and they'll say it's pretty hard, probably, at the lightest note.
And I mean, basically, they're giving people three options. At least I account to three options of, if they ban abortion, right? People are either going to keep the child. And in that, if they're going for an abortion, a lot of times it's because they don't have much financial, they don't have a lot of wealth. They're people who live in poverty and are looking to not have a child to add on to that, right?
Right.
So they're either locking people into poverty by being like, all right, you're already poor. You're going to stay motherfucking poor with a kid.
Right.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Good luck.
Yeah.
We wish you luck.
We don't actually.
Right.
That's them saying that, not me.
Right. Or the second option is that people do adopt, or they do put their kids up for adoption, right? Mm-hmm. Which is very hard. One, they still have to have the kid.
Right.
That can kill the mother.
Well, yeah, and again, if they want to ban discussion of sexual health or just sexual reproductive health.
Yeah, reproductive health.
That's probably going to be a lot harder to, the actual childbirthing aspect of it.
Just having a kid, yeah.
I feel like no man really I feel like these same conservative men are like the kind of guys that have to stand outside of the the delivery room because they're just they're like, oh, it's so icky, everything's all wet and gross.
Passes out when the kid's born, oh
yeah.
But yeah, so either locking them into poverty, having to go through a birth, which is very taxing on the body, and also having to give up a child after it's born. And after it's born, a mother probably has a very strong bond with the child. You're going to force them to put them up for adoption? Fuck off.
Right.
The third option is they go for an illegal abortion, which people did prior to Roe v. Wade passing in the first place, at similar rates, a little lower, but a lot of people, hundreds of thousands up to millions of people, depending on who you read, but seeked out abortions anyways. And a lot of these illegal abortions are very unsafe, unhygienic, can lead to long-term issues, can kill the mother. To me, this is it's a trident of misery.
Yeah.
They're forcing, and often the higher percentage of black women have to go through abortions.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to affect black women more.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure you don't need two men to tell you that this is going to be bad for women.
Yes, definitely not. Yeah.
I'm sure if you're a woman listening to this, we're kind of preaching to the choir.
Yeah,
right now.
No, absolutely. It would feel wrong to just paper over it and just be whatever.
No,
But
I get you.
So the last thing I want to hit here is that, it is just very similar to the traditional family that, Nazi Germany would push forward.
Weird.
Which is odd. Like,
Weird.
Here's a Joseph Goebbels quote from Joseph Goebbels on Women from 1933.
Oh boy, I want to hear what this fucking numbskull's got to say.
In the last 14 years, Berlin's birth rate. Sorry, I'm repeating because
You hear
look
that
at
one
X.com.
You hear that one a lot.
Oh my God. People are always talking about fucking birth rates.
Right.
Chill, stop. Berlin's birth rate has become the lowest of any European city. By 1955, without emigration, it will have only about 3 million inhabitants. The government is determined to halt this decline of the family and the resulting impoverishment of our blood. There must be a fundamental change. The liberal attitude towards the family and the child is responsible for Germany's rapid decline. I'm going to do a little experiment here on the fly. I'm going to replace some words with more American words.
Okay. Yeah, go for it.
In the last 14 years, Los Angeles' birth rate has become the lowest of any American city. By 2034, without emigration, it will have only about 3 million inhabitants. It's much more than that.
Yeah.
The government is determined to halt this decline of the family and the resulting impoverishment of our, instead of blood, I'll say Western civilization.
Right.
There must be a fundamental change. The liberal attitude towards the family and the child is responsible for America's rapid decline. You could read that on X.
Right. No, yeah. I mean, probably have at some point.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, no, that's the thing is a lot of these, it's so funny because like these psychos who talk about the obsession with birth rates in particular, and as well as the ones that fixate on pedophilia. If you talk to them a little bit about like, well, when's like in your opinion the optimal time to have a kid, and usually they'll be like, oh, probably when the woman is like entering their sexual height at like around 14.
Yeah, like 13 to 17.
Yeah. No, they're usually psychotically pedophilic in the sense that like, no, I've never seen like more. It's so bizarre. Just like, fervent support of pedophilia, but in the context of continuing like birth rate and like particularly amongst like the more psychotic right wingers
or
like,
libertarian. Like there's a sect of libertarians who will buy like some boat to have a boat city where they mine crypto like out on the ocean, and then just like be like, well, there's no laws out here.
I can fuck a kid.
There's no age laws. I could fuck a kid.
Yeah.
I could work them.
No.
I could work like, and it's
the same people like, and it's the same people that you hear. Like again, this is almost certainly not everyone, but definitely more than zero, which I think is concerning.
Is
like,
too many.
Yeah, they draw that. They also draw like I've said it before. I've seen it on a tweet, and it's just so poignant how Japan seems to be like the prime example for like a right winger. Like I've heard it described as white people's Wakanda. You know what I mean? Just like the continuing example of like how awesome and base society can be when you completely like no immigration and none
it's
of
homogenous.
This. And yeah, homogenous society. It's not. And
nothing is homogenous.
I mean, there are. I've done the white man Mecca. I have been to Japan. And I can personally tell you, there's quite a few Koreans and Chinese people living within Japan, but that's neither here nor there. These same people are like talking about how like, oh, we should do something kind of like how Japan. Japan has like a low age of consent law. We should do something like that. And it's usually the same libertarian people. Like particularly, what comes to mind is the New Hampshire branch of the Libertarian Party. If you want a fun time, go through their Twitter page and to just see some real hard hitters. But
that's where Christopher Cantwell, the crying Nazi, he was a New Hampshire libertarian.
Oh yeah, no, they're especially psychotic up there for some reason.
For some reason, there's a libertarian to fascist pipeline.
Weird.
which is odd.
It's weird.
Yeah,
but
it's
hey, you know what
weird.
they say: live free or die. You know.
Oh my god, I'd rather die. I'd rather die. Kill me.
But what I was going with that is, they use that as an example of like, God, we should do this, we should do that. And Japan famously has a rapidly declining birth rate and no immigration to kind of supplant that that lack of a growing workforce. You know what I mean? And so it's just starting to kind of buckle around the weight of just like a growing, like an aging population that has nothing coming in to replace it.
So you're saying immigration is good?
Yes, that is kind of where I'm going.
You heard it here first, folks.
I will actually fervently say that the idea that we have that a concept as a closed border is quite silly. But
And
not to be a Marxist.
Right. What I understand about borders is they have never stayed the same.
Right.
But anyway, so very nice insight. Thank you. Let's talk about number 2 a bit. Dismantle the administrative state and return self-governance to the American people. I want to touch on this real quick.
Because it's horseshit. Because it's total and unbridled horseshit.
Right.
Like across the board.
Because a lot of what they call the administrative state, I think popped up around inequities, like kind of these, they're talking
about the deep state. They're talking about the quote unquote deep state, which is just people in the federal government that I don't like because they're woke or DEI or whatever the fuck they want to use as like code word for some racial slurs.
Right.
Shit,
right.
Yeah.
It's like a lot of the changes that came to our government and a lot of the kind of additions to our government came through real strife that people had to go through. And a lot of it was just kind of, okay, let's bandage up our capitalist system. Let's put some patches on it. Let's keep it going. We need to give people some concessions, like Department of Education. People are complaining about education and all this shit. Like, let's,
they've really been breadcrumbing us lately. They have not really been like FDR was maybe the last one to really hit it out the gate with a lot of those, and then like Jimmy Carter having the Department of Ed under his belt, but since then it's been pretty. I mean, Obamacare, sure, but
right,
like,
sure, yeah,
it's like pretty lackluster.
My point is that a lot of these things popped up as a way to combat, like DEI or what is it when you have to hire a certain amount of,
affirmative action?
Like affirmative action, right?
Which was banned, and that was I saw that was very much hard fought for by like particularly right wing Asian Americans, thinking that was like harming their chances of getting into upper level colleges because black folk were like getting in at higher rates, and then wouldn't you know it, it actually didn't benefit them at all when affirmative action was repealed, and in fact only benefited white people. Isn't that just weird? That's weird.
That's odd, yeah.
How that keeps happening.
But I mean, something like that to me is not fixing the problem. It's more of a bandage, right? But it came up because not many black people were being brought into colleges, and not many Hispanic people were being brought into colleges, like indigenous people, so on and so forth, right? It came up as a bandage of like, okay, we need to address this problem.
Very light concession,
right? So now what they're trying to do is say that by taking away all these things that have come, onto the American government's lap as like, okay, let's build this structure where we can better uphold capitalism while also, keeping it, somewhat equitable, somewhat. And I say that with a little...
I think especially since Citizens United, that's been a very hard somewhat.
Right, yeah. But so what they're trying to do is they're trying to just take that away. Yeah. They're trying to make it so that all those things, those checks and balances are not in place.
That's the Make America Great Again in MAGA, is go back before we had all those kind of nice things.
Right. And so also I think it's ridiculous that by dismantling this administrative state, that self-governance is going to come to the American people, right? Like by reducing everything to the presidency, Congress, and the House, right?
Yeah, I was going to say, I like how the idea is reducing everything to the president. It's like, that's the opposite of what you're talking about.
And they have the Congress and the House.
That is the, consolidation of power at the top. But
that's what we would say, right?
Yeah.
But it's
or
like
anyone with a fucking brain in their head. But
it's like they're trying to say that the power, by being released from these administrative state positions and bubbles of power, it's just gonna seep down into the populace, and suddenly,
dude, it's gonna trickle down.
Yeah, us sitting here, we're just gonna be, I feel it. I feel more power.
Right.
Like, no, that's not. It's going to be consolidated. And when I've heard the quote, neoliberalism is fascism in slow motion.
Mm-hmm.
Here we are, right?
Yeah.
I mean, since Ronald Reagan really kind of, taking back, and we'll talk about Reagan more, but Reagan, cutting taxes for like the ultra rich mega corporations, and this continuing project of anti-abortion, anti-LGBTQ+, like multiple other things that kind of have coalesced into our modern conservatism. And now we're at the point, where Mussolini consolidated power in a very quick way.
Mm-hmm.
The Conservative Party has done this over the course of 50, 60 years through like neoliberalism in a way, right?
Well, and I think also one very important aspect of it within the American context is looking at what branches of government are there. Okay, you got the executive, which is the president. You have the congressional, and then you also have the judiciary branch,
right?
The Supreme Court, which is entirely run, well, not entirely, but majority run by Republicans, who very recently ruled that any act done by a president under his presidency, no matter what, is not illegal. It is not an illegal act. And as to what, so by that, they essentially essentially okayed Watergate. They were like, it's been a long time, but like that nowadays, that would have been cool. That's cool.
Gordon Liddy's fucking Nazi ass. Dude. Get him at it.
No, no, that's the thing. And the thing is that this is really baked into the cake of America. This is something that it was always going to eventually come to this point, because I personally think a huge aspect of it is the fact that Supreme Court justices do not have term limits at all. They don't have any kind of limit. So essentially the majority Republican run Supreme Court, we kind of just have to deal with that until one of them croaks, which who do you think is going to be next? Might be Clarence Thomas. I don't know. It could be.
If you ask me, in a truly democratic society, we could get rid of any of them at any time. Well, with enough support from the people.
And if we also had, the last very, very weak attempt at trying to sway the court in any way was the attempted act of like packing the court. That was something that like FDR tried really hard to do and failed to do. Pack the court, just like, because there's nothing in the Constitution saying it has to be this certain amount of Supreme Court justices. Like, there's no numbered amount within the Constitution. So for like a constitutionalist, that'd be chill. And if we had literally any Democrat in power with a spine, they could have done that, but we don't.
Yep.
So,
especially
not Biden. Especially not Biden.
Also, Obama could have codified Roe v. Wade. I'm sorry,
and also this may piss off a great deal of people, but
here we go.
Ruth Bader Ginsburg. When she was cancer ridden and
don't bring that.
Still, she was stricken with cancer and still a Supreme Court justice and still had time to step down under an Obama presidency and refused because that's it's always a pride thing with old people. I feel like it's 100% a pride thing.
Oh yeah.
Like they just can't step down because that to them is like, you know, a cop out. It's like how Joe Biden was fighting tooth and nail to remain like the presidential candidate despite just like fucking getting mollywopped on the fucking like debate by Trump to the point where he was like fucking just, you know, there were probably like two thumbs twiddling in his head like during the whole thing. I mean, no, it's a pride thing.
Yeah,
and
it
so
is, yeah.
her refusal to step down has, in my personal opinion, fucked us for a very long time. Because then, of course, when she died, we got a couple of guys in there. We got that one like date rape guy for the Republican Party, and then some. I forget.
It's all bad.
Yeah.
A lot of this stuff too, like they couch kind of in this constitutionalism too.
Mm-hmm. Why the fuck are we letting a 200-year-old document dictate literally anything? Do you know how bizarre it is outside of this country to be proud the fact that your country is being run by like a document that is older than fucking the car or like a steam engine, you know what I mean? Like, or like any of the, like, it makes no fucking sense that we're fighting so hard tooth and nail. Cause I don't know, man. I think it's that exceptionalism that American, like the framers could have never done anything wrong, despite them being slave owners, you know, they could have never done anything wrong.
Right.
You know?
I think they're like Umberto Eco talks about, there's that cult of tradition, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's that there's this kind of eternal truth set out, you know, in the beginning of time or whatever, you know, he says but really the Constitution is that thing. It's similar to the Bible, right? And I think in America, those two things have kind of weirdly fused together, but
even though I'm sure the framers would have hated that. I'm sure they didn't like that.
Yeah.
They wanted a separate, but you know.
But you know, this constitutionalism, it's like acting as if this is some
like a monolith,
immortal truth,
right?
That just will exist throughout time, right? And I think one thing to think about, I mean, what I think about a lot is when we're talking about the Constitution, there are a lot of promises in there that are like, you know, all men are created equal, just that, right?
Right. Not when that was made.
On its face.
Not when that was made.
On its face, right? This is where we get into utopianism versus materialism. We talked a little bit about materialism in our opener, right? But, you know, as a socialist, I think we want to actually come through with that, right?
That
has never come to fruition. It's a formality. It's a thing that, you know, depending on who you decide is a human or not, right? Is like, well, yeah, these people are like equal, but like, oh, well, you know, black people aren't even like, you know, really human.
Right,
like,
yeah.
you know, it's this stupid, like, there's always been ways people have been able to skirt around it. Okay, well, you know, a prisoner, you know, prisoners shouldn't really get rights in the same way that like any other ordinary citizen should. Well, they all happen to be black, right? I mean, it's not because we're racist. It's because like they happen to, you know, do crime more. It's like, well,
and then they bust out the FBI crime statistics, and
that's not freedom. It's not freedom. I'm sorry. It's not everyone's equal. It's not freedom. It's not liberty. It's not any of the things they said it was.
I will say on a very conceptual basis. This is something I just thought of while you were talking. One of the things that's guaranteed is life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Right.
If you ask me, I think within American society, bar none, the unhappiest people out there are these Republicans that are just so fervently in favor of just making life incredibly shitty for everyone else around them, so that they are like, I'm framing a lot of this, like, especially with like the anti-abortion stuff and the anti, you know, trans and you know, anti-gender, whatever the fuck that even means.
Anti-equity? Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it makes no sense. No, it's that knee-jerk reaction, but it is it's miserable, totally miserable people just like kind of forcing that misery onto other people,
Right?
Because it's like, I don't know, maybe a psychologist who knows a little bit more about that topic than I do.
We are going to get Jordan Peterson on here,
right? Yeah,
to
he's
talk
next week's
about,
guest. He is next week's guest. Yeah,
talking about psychologists.
He's actually in the bathroom right now. He was just getting a little nervous to.
Yeah, he was complaining about the language.
Hit the mic.
So, no, I think that's all astute points you're making.
He did drink all of your beer, by the way.
I am very upset at that.
I saw him. Although it wasn't good beer. It was like...
My PBRs?
Yeah.
All right.
It was...
That's okay.
It was bullshit.
I could read a bunch of quotes about this dismantling the administrative state, but I feel like
lay one on us. Why don't you lay one on us? lay a doozy. How about that? Give me the cream of the crop.
Doozy.
Give me the cream of the crop.
Oh, here we go.
Okay.
Unaccountable federal spending is the secret lifeblood of the Great Awakening, which is hilarious to me. The Great Awakening,
dude, that would make a killer movie title. You know? What I mean?
What did George Carlin say? It's called The American Dream because you got to be asleep to believe it.
Yeah.
Nearly every power center held by the left is funded or supported one way or another through the bureaucracy by Congress. I mean, yeah, same with the right wing. Like, that doesn't make sense. Like, colleges and school districts are funded by tax dollars.
As they should.
Like, you're upset that, like, schools are being funded?
Right.
Okay.
Yes, they are.
Yeah, they'd rather have Bob Jones University where Bob Jones just doesn't let black people in for fucking ever. And that's private. So that's good. That means it's good, right?
They're big on the private schools and the parental teaching,
there's
a lot homeschooling.
There's a lot about parental teaching in here of how parents should be able to
Doesn't
take
work,
over.
Everybody, let me tell you, if you've ever met someone who was homeschooled, I'm sure you know that they're the most socially inept person you've ever met because their parents basically set them up to fail.
But they're just trying to get.
They didn't have a chance.
Right.
They didn't even have a fucking chance. Yeah. It's the parents' fault.
They're trying to literally isolate kids so that they have to be with their conservative parents and get a new batch of young bigots.
And it's usually these echo chambers. Like I've seen like Facebook groups, for examples, where it's like, homeschooling parents supporting parents. And I remember seeing one post where a woman was talking about how she was so ashamed of herself because her kid was like 12 and just could not read at all. Like just couldn't read. And it was just like, good job.
Yeah.
That's why you leave it to a professional.
We need teachers, people. We need teachers. They go on. The administrative state holds 100% of its power at the sufferance of Congress, and its insulation from presidential discipline is an unconstitutional fairy tale spun by the Washington establishment to protect its turf. And finally, the president can restore public confidence and accountability to our most important government function of all.
I disagree.
National defense.
Oh.
The American people desire a military full of highly skilled servicemen and women of poor people who you trick into joining the military.
Yeah. It's the only reason really anyone joins.
Right.
In America especially.
Right. The American people desire a military full of highly skilled servicemen and women who can protect the homeland. Homeland? That's some fucking Nazi shit, in my opinion. I don't like the idea of homeland. Because this is...
I think, yeah, no.
My family came from fucking France.
Well,
okay?
Are you willing to admit that on the pod?
I'm willing to admit that. This is not...
Are you willing to admit that you are French on the pod?
Like, we're talking about, like, fucking Lebensraum right now. Living space right now. Look up Lebensraum. Like, we're talking about a homeland? Really? Like, anyways, to protect the homeland and our interests overseas. Imperialism.
Yeah.
We're talking about taking away other people's sovereignty so we can push our own agendas. Right. Well, not even ours. The billionaires.
Corporate America. Yeah.
It's why in Guatemala, freaking United Fruit Company, Chiquita, would end up starting a bunch of, America would start a bunch of wars with Guatemala because Chiquita's got to make some fucking money off of bananas.
Yeah, there are countless examples of things of that nature.
The next conservative president must end the left's social experiment with the military. So they're talking using military force to end the left's social experiment. Restore war fighting as its sole mission. What happened today, Tom? What happened today? Greenland?
Oh, right. Yeah.
Canada?
Greenland. Yeah. I personally, if you ask me, I think, once again, to carbon date win in the news cycle, we're recording this. Yeah, Trump in Mar-a-Lago, I think.
Yeah.
Talking about how, we got to get Greenland, we got to get the Panama Canal, which Canada, which I personally, Canada's hilarious because I was just telling Tom this before we started recording that I was on Twitter, the Everything, or X, the Everything website.
The Everything.
And I saw like, in the hashtag or like in the now trending page of him talking about that, like particularly psychotic like right-wing cult like QAnon type people freaking out because of some conspiracy, how like when the New World Order kicks off, the world's going to be divided into 10 kingdoms, and the kingdom that incorporates America includes the US and Canada, so basically all of like white North America. Which is kind of funny because they're like, he duped us. He's New World Order, and he duped us. But also, what's I think especially funny about the Panama Canal is that there is a reason we don't use that. You want to know why? It sucks. It's not good.
Wait, isn't that because the French built it?
No, well, they started
the French
it.
Cannot build canals.
No, they started it, but we picked it up. No. Listen, okay, the history with that. The French did start it. They abandoned it, though, because Panama, that whole region of Central America is incredibly difficult to traverse. Like, it's just incredibly thick, dense rainforest. Like, there is a specific chunk, I think, south of Panama, north of Colombia, that is, like, well known for having no roads, no easy access. Like, it is just kind of a free-for-all as far as, like, getting through that particular section. So the Panama Canal was built for the U.S. Navy to easily kind of pass between, from the Atlantic to the Pacific. The thing is, though, in order for a ship to get through the Panama Canal, there are a series of like kind of valves and levels that it has to go through because it's not like on an equal level. Like a ship will have to come in, the gates behind it close. They very slowly fill it with water so it elevates a little higher. Then the gate in front of it opens up so they can push forward more. Then it closed behind them. And it's just a repeated process of something of that nature. Again, I'm a layman, so there's probably somebody who's a military historian or like a Navy geek who's like screaming at my inaccuracies. This is a layman's interpretation of it. But essentially, that was the way that we would get the ships across. The thing is, that was practical back in the very beginning of the 20th century when our ships were not very fast because it was a lot quicker to have to do that than go all the way around South America. That's not the case anymore. Our ships are we pump trillions upon trillions of dollars into military research, into the Navy. Our ships have a much quicker time going around the entirety of the South American continent than they do going through the Panama Canal. If you ask me, I think Trump or somebody was like talking about like some like, I don't know, AP US history thing of where it's like, God, you remember when we had the canal? And Trump was like, what? We
had the canal?
We had the canal. Oh, we got to get that back.
Yeah,
we gotta get it back. We gotta make America great again, which includes this totally fucking useless piece, like a canal that like, and of course, like, we went through very similar with Guatemala, many concerted efforts to maintain governmental control over Panama in particular. I think the last time we overthrew them was in like the 90s. Like, we keep doing it.
Yeah,
like, it's not like they're exactly outside of the American imperialist sphere of influence, but it's just funny that he's obsessed with that one particularly because it sucks. It's not good. Like, no one uses it because it's not good. Like,
right. Yeah. It's silly. Yeah.
No, it's great. And also, if money's an issue, take it out of the fucking military. We write them a blank check every fucking year.
Or the New York Police Department.
Or the New York Police Department I think is like in the top
like
10
30
as far as biggest militarized
no,
forces
it's in the
on
top
Earth.
30 or whatever.
It's high.
It's high. It's way too high. It's like higher than Vietnam.
Way higher than any city police department should have. No, I mean, but hey, who's gonna fund all those robot dogs and like the the drones and shit like that if we don't have just a blank check? I mean, if you yourself are a veteran, I'm sure you have many just thoughts and examples of just the abundant waste that happens within the American military and Navy and air and all
just
of that.
Dumping fuel into the ocean.
Yeah, like my cousin. Yeah, he was in the Navy, and he was telling me that when a fighter jet has to land back into an aircraft carrier, and if it's got like too much fuel, it has to dump it all into the ocean before landing, or else it will crash and blow up.
Well, good thing we have Dawn dish soap.
Right, yeah.
Everyone go to Star Market and pick up some Dawn dish soap. We are not paid by Star Market or Dawn, but please hit us up if you're interested in supporting the podcast, Dawn and Star Market.
And don't try and geolocate where we are based off of our endorsement of Star Market. Could also be a King Soopers. Could be a Food for Less, or maybe a
Vons,
Ralph's, Food Lion,
Ralph's, fucking Ralph's. There's a 24-hour Ralph's across where I lived in LA.
Yeah,
and that's where I saw Ron Jeremy. Anyways, on that note, I think we'll wrap it up on the Ron Jeremy comment here.
The one that you brought up.
I think that neatly pins together this whole episode.
Okay. I would disagree, but that's I guess just a matter of opinion. I think maybe he has like a secret role. He's like the one pulling the strings.
You think Ron Jeremy's the one pulling the strings?
I think he's the one. Like Trump is just the puppet, and he's the puppeteer. You know what I mean?
Is he not in jail? I thought he was like.
I don't know.
Got arrested.
I don't know what that dude's deal is. He could be doing anything, and it would neither shock nor surprise me. Like I just, he could be like, I don't know, like a subsistence farmer somewhere in like Argentina or something like that. And
Honestly,
I wouldn't know or care. Like I just wouldn't, you know what I mean? It wouldn't impact anything that I'm doing.
So this episode we started talking about Project 2025 and specifically the conservative promise. And we really just got through the first two sections of that little thing.
Yes.
Because we love to rant and we love to get off topic.
Right.
I mean, most of what we say is on topic, but you know.
What can you do?
What can you do? Next episode, we'll talk about the rest of those items. So stay tuned.
Enjoy. I mean, about as much as one can,
I know. There's only
strap
so
in.
Yeah.
Really, I guess is probably a more apt. Get ready. Brace for impact.
Learning about fascism is like eating Brussels sprouts. You got to get your greens. It may not taste good. It sucks.
I like the brace for impact, like metaphor a little bit more, because it's like a car crash that you can see coming from very far away, and it's happening, and all you can really do is just like, curl up, protect the vital organs as you like are sent ricocheting throughout like the bus. I imagine this is happening in a public bus or something, flying into a wall.
What, our country? Our world? Yeah.
I kind of envision it as like an inner city bus that's just like flying down the highway at like 90 miles. And then there's just like a giant brick wall, like Looney Tunes style brick wall.
With a road painted like a tunnel,
right? A
painted
tunnel
with the road.
Yeah, that was painted by that dastardly Roadrunner. Was that Bugs? I don't know. Either way,
I think Bugs was the one painting it, and then Roadrunner was the one who would always run into it.
Either way, we're screwed. I mean, but we can learn about it. I don't know how to make this positive.
Cut
the lights.
Goodbye. This is Tom, and this is Tom.
Yes, yeah. This is Tom. This has been Don't Be a Sucker. And yeah, cut his mic. Cut it.